Hey, Stone Coast, just checking in. I wanted to talk a little bit about this past Sunday where we're continuing in our series, Why Are We Here? And I want to share our story. I want to share our values and really the essence of why I began Stone Coast with a great group of people and the things that we want to accomplish and kind of like get to the inner works, if you will, as to why we do what we do and what we believe we're called to specifically at Stone Coast. And last week we talked about that God is love, and that out of our love for Him, that this is where it all stems from, right? That we know and trust God, and out of that relationship with Him, we want to live on purpose for Him. We want to live a life of significance for Him. And so this week we're talking about loving others, and I talked about loving others beyond our comfort zone. And I wanted to challenge us a little bit because I feel like we all have a tendency to love others up to the point where we're comfortable. But once we're uncomfortable, then we will cease to love. And I feel like the goal for us as Christ followers is to keep being more open to loving outside of our comfort zone. And I had two main points. One was simply to remove the walls and to be more inclusive. And the scriptures challenge us at a very, very deep level about what it means to love the other. And I don't think it leaves any room for gray. It says to love all people because God is love. And out of that, we're called to love the other. It even goes to the point where if you can't love the other, you can't love God. And then there's another passage where it talks about loving our enemies, praying for those who persecute us. And so God is like raising the bar really, really high because all people matter to Him. And so let me just quickly go through the two points. One was removing the walls. And I shared a couple of stories about my own life. It was interesting that at a very early age, I'd say from the age of 11 through 16, I dealt with a lot of losses in my life. And I actually learned not to trust people. I even got to the point where I was like, you know what? I'm never going to love another person more than they love me, or I'm not going to love the person deeply enough so that they can hurt me more than what I can handle. And I was like, wow, how sad that is that through life's situations and circumstances and broken relationships at such a young age that I would internalize those truths. And the thing about removing walls is that when we go through life after building up walls because we've been hurt in relationships, we're no longer able to receive what others have to offer. And in many ways, we're hurting ourselves, but we're also hurting the others because we're not letting them in. And there's so many people out there that are good people. And I've learned much about how to love through my relationship with my wife, Diane. And she's helped me to remove walls in my own life. And there's many other people that I could point to, like just solid friends that I've learned to love and to trust. And you know, it's because I made a decision when I became a Christian at age 21. I finally got to the point where I said, you know what? I have to love all people knowing that I'm going to get hurt. It's just, that's what's going to happen, you know, but it's worth it. And being vulnerable and transparent and authentic is a better way to live than that protected layers and layers and layers where people, you stop to even learn or know who you are anymore when you are walking around with walls all the time. And you don't allow yourself to receive true love. And so I feel like we talk about becoming all that God intended us to become. Well, this is one way of doing that. And so I challenge you and encourage you to think about the walls in your life that you've built up, and slowly but surely, through the grace of God, to remove those walls and to learn to trust again and to love more openly and freely, but not naively. You know, we talked about that a little bit, just to have the wisdom that we're not to be doormats, we're not to be run over. There are evil people in the world, and we need to put up what I call boundaries that are healthy boundaries to protect us, and that's a good thing. But I'm talking about the walls that prevent us from loving on a regular basis in quote-unquote normal situations. The second thing that I talked about was the need to be inclusive. And we got to realize that what Jesus called us to, loving others freely and openly, is can be offensive to people. It can be difficult. It can be messy. It's definitely going to be uncomfortable. And I wanted to challenge us. We just experienced Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. weekend, and so I showed a couple of videos about that, and one of them was called "I Have Decided to Love," and I want you to reflect on his life and what he was in the midst of, and how powerful that is, that he could choose that no matter what, I am going to love the other in light of all the hatred that was rampant. And so for us today, I ask you to think about what are maybe the people groups or the different folks that you have trouble with that leave you uncomfortable. And I hate even labeling this, but I'll say it just for the sake of getting a discussion going and getting you to think a little bit. We're called to be inclusive to all people because Jesus was the most inclusive person to ever walk the earth. And he hung out with people that no one else would hang out with. And so I don't know what's on your list. Maybe it's prostitutes. Maybe it's people of other religions. Maybe it's the people on the different political aisle. Maybe it's homosexuals. Maybe it's people that struggle with transgender. Maybe it's people of different color. Whatever. And the list goes on and on. Where is it that you kind of draw the line because you feel uncomfortable loving them? And I just think that part of Stone Coast is learning how to love even when it's uncomfortable, and learning how to be more inclusive. And so I just want you to think about that, because I don't know that the scriptures can ever give us a way out of that. I just think it's very, very clear that Jesus died for all people, and that he loves all. He loved the world so much that he gave his son. And that as his followers, we are also to do all that we can to love the other. And so I hope that you're reflecting on that and thinking about that and are challenged by that, because it does a lot more in us when we can live a life that God intended by loving the other. I hope to see you this week, and have a great rest of the week. Thanks, guys.